Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss the psychosocial development theory given by Erickson. Erickson was from Germany and his early adult years he has spent by studying art and traveling around Europe. Later on, he got a chance to meet the psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud in Vienna, and Freud invited him to study psychoanalysis, and from here it was a turning point of his career. In 1950, he brought out his psychosocial theory, which is a developmental theory of the 8 stages of a man, which covers the entire lifespan. So if you see the other theories, either they talked about childhood or they talked about the adolescent development theories, but Erickson has covered the entire lifespan of an individual. And he introduced his theory, and Erickson postulated that the development of an individual is the result of his interaction with his social environment. So what Erickson said, that the individual is interacting with his social environment. So he is faced with different crises. हमारे जीवन में हर पड़ाव के ऊपर अलग अलग तरह की प्रॉब्लम्स आती हैं या कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स आते हैं, क्राइसिस आते हैं, एंड देयर इज अ नीड दैट द इंडिविजुअल हैज़ टू रिएक्ट टू दिस क्राइसिस. और इन क्राइसिस से उभरने के लिए द इंडिविजुअल जो है ही टेक्स अप सम काइंड ऑफ steps, or he reacts psychologically in his own way depending upon the circumstances. So the demand of the social environment keeps on increasing as the child advances on the ladder of growth and development. बचपन के अंदर हमारे क्राइसिस अलग होते हैं, जब हम ग्रो होते हैं तो अलग तरह के क्राइसिस आते हैं, और जैसे हमारी एडल्टहुड में आते हैं हमारे क्राइसिस अलग तरीके के होते हैं, और बाद में हमारे क्राइसिस बदल जाते हैं. बचपन में हमारा क्राइसिस यही होता है कि हमें मनपसंद खाना चाहिए एंड वी रिएक्ट टू इट. उसके बाद जब हम स्कूल जाते हैं तो पढ़ाई के अंदर हमारे क्राइसिस आते हैं. पीपल डू नॉट अंडरस्टैंड अस, वी वांट टू मेक फ्रेंड. उसके बाद व्हेन वी ग्रो एज एन एडल्ट, हमारे क्राइसिस रिलेटेड टू अवर लव लाइफ शुरू हो जाते हैं. बाद में शादी के बाद बच्चों के क्राइसिस शुरू हो जाते हैं, एंड एडल्ट लेटर in the old age the crisis related to health issues. Now how do we react to this crisis? So as an individual, each one has his own way of reacting in this kind of social environment. So this is all about an individual and his interaction with the social environment. So now if we see that for example, one may go on acquiring positive traits through this. Now if the way I am reacting to this social environment will develop some kind of qualities in me, either I will become a positive person or I will become a negative person. So your experiences from the life will develop some kind of values in them. So this is how the development of an individual takes place. So we may acquire positive traits like trust, independence, initiative, industry, or identity. Or we can also be troublesome, confused, and a doomed personality. So this is how we grow in the society. So these traits of trust or mistrust, independence or shame are developed through one's interaction with the social environment at different stages of development, and this is what we call it as a psychosocial development. And these different stages of psychosocial development should not be considered to begin suddenly or and abruptly. So it is a cycle. One cycle is followed by the another cycle. So this is how Erickson has defined his stages of psychosocial development, and he divided the entire psychosocial development into 8 stages. So he has taken the crisis on one side, that at each stage the individual is going to face some kind of crisis in his life, and how he is going to react to this crisis. So if we see the stage 1, that is between birth to 1.5 years, is the stage of trust versus mistrust. Then autonomy versus shame, initiative versus guilt, industry versus infant, and so on. Now here we will be discussing each and every stage in detail. So let us take these stages one by one. The first stage is trust versus mistrust, which is from birth till 1.5 year. Okay, so in this age, that is the infancy, the child is confronted with a crisis of trust versus mistrust. That is, can I trust the people? So this is the period when the child is completely dependent on the mother, or he is completely dependent upon his caretaker for satisfaction of his needs. So स्वयं वो कुछ नहीं कर सकता. If he is hungry, he cannot take the food on his own. He is dependent upon somebody, and that is the mother or the caregiver. Now the way he is nourished, the way he is handled, the way he is protected and kept safe and comfortable at this stage will provide the baby with a sense of security or insecurity, a feeling of trust or mistrust. सो इस उम्र में जिस तरह से बच्चे को डील किया जाएगा, वो उसके अंदर फीलिंग ऑफ ट्रस्ट या मिसट्रस्ट डेवलप करेगा. सो द सेंस ऑफ ट्रस्ट और मिसट्रस्ट विद रिगार्ड टू द एनवायरमेंट gained in this way at this stage of development can be carried over in the future stages. So whatever experience he is having at this age, that will have effect on his later stages of development. So this is the stage when infants are confronted with the challenge of establishing trust in their caregivers and the world around them. So an infant who is fed regularly and comforted when he is upset will learn to trust, and he will develop the sense of security and confidence. But if he is not taken care of, then he may develop the feeling of distrust. So here his major question is that, can I trust the people around them? So how the environment is reacting. If he is taken well, carefully, then he will develop the trust. So we have to see to it that for a healthy development of the child, we should give him such kind of environment that he does not develop mistrust, but in turn develops the trust in the people around him. Now after gaining the trust and security with regard to his environment, now the child enters into the second stage. So this is the stage of autonomy versus shame and doubt. Now at this age, the child has developed his motor and physical skills. He has developed some kind of language ability. अब वो थोड़ा सा चलने की कोशिश करता है, थोड़ा सा बोलने की कोशिश करता है. तो इस एज में child now engages in exploring his environment, and now he is experimenting with his strengths and his limitations for achieving a sense of autonomy. अब वो जो है दूसरों पे डिपेंडेंट नहीं है कि मुझे खाना खिलाएगा. अब वो खुद जो है कोशिश करेगा कि वो चम्मच से खाने की कोशिश करे, वो खुद जो है चलने की कोशिश करेगा. So now he is trying to achieve the sense of autonomy and independence. So now he needs proper safety measures because वो नया नया चलने सीखा है, नया नया दौड़ने सीखा है. So अब उसको जो है एक सेफ्टी का एनवायरनमेंट की ज़रूरत है कि उसको चोट न लग जाए. उसको जो है जो वो चीज़ें पकड़ता है तो उसके आसपास आपको चाकू या ऐसी कोई चीज़ें नहीं रख देनी है जिससे कि उसको नुकसान पहुंचे. सो ही नीड्स टू बी प्रोटेक्टेड, ही नीड्स टू बी गिवन द सेफ एनवायरनमेंट, एंड देन because now he is also developing the language, so you have to also see to it that he develops the correct language. So wherever needed, you have to tell him. So he should be given a freedom, but this freedom should be to a reasonable degree so that he acquires the sense of independence. So safety के साथ साथ आपको उसको जो है फ्रीडम देते हुए एक सेंस ऑफ ऑटोनॉमी डेवलप करने की कोशिश करनी है. नाउ द चिल्ड्रन हु आर डिनाइड द अपॉर्चुनिटी to develop a sense of independence by overprotection, or when your parents are very harsh or they are restrictive, then the child becomes in shame and doubt. So if you do not let him explore, उसको चलने ही नहीं दोगे, उसको खाना नहीं खाने दोगे क्योंकि वो गिरा देगा, अरे उसे गिराने दो, उसे गंदगी करने दो, let him learn. But if you are very very overprotective, then his development is hampered and he may develop the sense of shame and doubt. Now let me tell you that this feeling of doubt and shame is also not always negative. आपको जो है कोई आपने गलत काम किया है तो आपको शर्मिंदगी भी होनी चाहिए. So this shame, feeling of shame is not at all negative. But for a certain thing he should also be ashamed when he's doing some kind of wrong thing. So a healthy sense of doubt will help the child to set his own limits. So he should have his own limits. That means he should not be given that total freedom. That he develops a sense of right and wrong. So at this stage of psychosocial development, the child needs to be helped so that he can strike a balance between the conflicting needs of the social environment, so that he can acquire sense of autonomy and develop a sense of doubt and shame for the advocate development of his personality. So this is the stage when the child builds autonomy and authority over their surroundings. They are gaining the power to make decisions and take risks. So this stage challenge is balancing the desire for autonomy with the need for adult guidance and support. So, and the example is when the young children they learn to dress themselves, वो खुद कपड़े पहनना सीख जाते हैं तो वो खुद जो है अपने कपड़े चुनने की कोशिश करते हैं. So the parents should allow them. Allowing them to make these choices and dress will give them a sense of independence and they can have the control over their lives. So let them pick up their own clothes and dress themselves. Let them develop their food preferences. Then let them select the toys which they like for themselves and let them master their toilet training. Now this is the third stage. Till now the child has developed the trust, the child has developed the autonomy. Now the child begins to take initiative in interacting with his environment. So he starts asking questions about each and everything. ऐसा क्यों होता है, मैं ऐसे करूँगा तो क्या हो जाएगा. He explores his environment ceaselessly and engages in planning and carrying out activities of various kind. Now he wants to explore his surroundings. वो सब कुछ करने की कोशिश करता है, सब कुछ अपने आप करना चाहता है and he want to explore. So the extent to which the initiative for carrying out physical and mental exploration is encouraged or discouraged by the parents and the available social environment goes a long way in developing ability in the child to initiate, plan and carry out these activities in later life. So जितना उनको parents freedom देते हैं कि they can explore, they can take initiative, so then they will be able to develop the quality of taking initiation and plan in the later life. But suppose if they are discouraged, parents उनको initiative लेने नहीं देते कि अभी तुम बच्चे हो, अभी रहने दो, हम करेंगे. If the parents do not show faith in him कि नहीं तुम बिगाड़ दोगे, या उनको जो है नीचा दिखाते हैं या उनको क्रिटिसाइज करते हैं, उनको पनिश करते हैं बिकॉज दे हैव टेकन अप सम काइंड ऑफ इनिशिएटिव, और अगर छोटी छोटी गलतियों पे भी उन्हें डांट पड़ती है, देन द चाइल्ड मे डेवलप द सेंस ऑफ गिल्ट एंड ही विल हेजिटेट and he will think that he is not good in doing certain things and he will not plan any activity. Okay, so अगर आपका फेलियर हुआ तो एक रीजनेबल सेंस ऑफ गिल्ट इज ओके कि मैंने गलती किया, मुझसे गलती होगी, वो एक छोटा सा गिल्ट आना चाहिए. बट इट डज नॉट मीन दैट दैट यू आर रिबक्ट और आपको जो इतना पनिशमेंट दिया जाता है बिकॉज यू हैव कमिटेड अ मिस्टेक, देन दैट टाइप ऑफ गिल्ट is very very harmful, because then he will always be in a sense of doubt कि मैं ये नहीं कर पाऊंगा. So यहाँ पे the parents have to take into consideration that whenever the child is exploring something, he should be given enough freedom. Let him explore, let him commit mistake, let him know from his own mistakes. Then only he will develop the sense of autonomy or the sense of initiative. Otherwise he will develop. So when children are allowed to engage in research activities actively, they can develop social skills. They can have a high sense of initiative and they can make rational decisions. But if you are criticizing them, if you are punishing them, then they may develop the feeling of guilt, and that will hamper their personal growth. So if a child decides to dress themselves, they can feel strong sense of autonomy and ownership because of the physical appearance, that yes, I am looking good and this is my decision. But when these efforts are followed by criticism, then it may emotionally damage them and they will feel guilty and humiliated. So, am I good or bad? So this type of questions he will ask. So and that will lead him either in the sense of guilt, or either they will become more initiative. The next stage is industry versus inferiority, which normally range from 6 to 12 years. So this is the stage when the child starts attending the school, and here they are made to learn various skills, and the teachers as well as the school environment generates pressure on them to work hard. So here, they have to work hard, they have to perform in the different activities in the school, they have to perform in the sports, and parents also now have some kind of expectations from the child. They also start demanding from the children to lend their hand. घर में थोड़ा काम देते हैं कि हमें ये मदद कर दो, ये चीज़ ले आओ, हाउस होल्ड ड्यूटीज़ उनको देना शुरू करते हैं. सो now in some cases, if they are able to do it, then they are happy, but if they are not able to do it, then it may lead to inferiority. So they have to now compete with their peers in terms of competence, in terms of productivity, in school as well as in the social situations. So now they will be compared with their peers. So in case the child performs well in school or in home or in social environment, or is admitted for his intellectual or motor pursuits, then he will develop a sense of industry. तो अगर उसको appreciate किया जाता है, कोई भी काम वो करता है और वो अच्छे से करता है and is able to perform well, then he is being appreciated, and this will develop a sense of industry in him. Now see the other way. Suppose now he is not able to perform well comparison to peers, and is not able to satisfy his teachers or his parents, and everybody is looking down upon him, then he will develop the sense of inferiority. So if he is developing the sense of industry, that will develop a kind of self-confidence in him, and he will be motivated to do tasks again and again. But suppose if he is not able to compete, if he is not able to complete the task properly, if he is not able to satisfy his teachers or parents, and if he is looked down upon, if he is insulted, then he may develop inferiority complex. So the teachers and the school environment therefore plays an important role in helping the children to come out of this crisis of industry and inferiority. So school becomes a place where his success and failure is defined. Therefore, it becomes the duty of the teacher and the school authorities to structure the classroom and the school environment in such a way that everybody is developing some kind of positive attitude. So, during this industry versus inferiority stage, the children focus more on the outside world, like sports, they have certain hobbies, they have peer relationship, and as a result, they start to compare their skills and abilities with their peers, and either they feel pride or they develop the they develop the inferiority complex. So, like example is given, a 10-year-old boy who is praised by his teacher for completing a difficult project successfully and receives recognition from his peers for his achievement may develop a sense of pride in his ability to preserve and believes in his own competence. So we should see that we are praising but we are not insulting any child if he is not able to do certain tasks. So here the question the child asks to himself is, how can I be good or a bad person? The next stage, that is ranging from 12 to 18 years, and some places they write 19 years, is identity versus role confusion. Now, till now he has equipped the sense of trust, autonomy, initiative and industry. Now this is the stage when the child is entering into puberty, and he will find there is a sudden change in their bodies, in their mental functioning. So now there is a physical change in the body as well as this altered demand from the society. Now, अब तुम बड़े हो गए हो, अब तुम समझदार हो गए हो, अब तुमको ये करना चाहिए. And sometimes they will also call him that no, you are a child, don't do this. So it is a stage of confusion, and then they start asking questions to themselves. Who am I? What have I become? Am I the same person I used to be? What I supposed to do and in which manner I should behave, because it is not clear whether he should behave like an adult or whether he should behave like a child, because sometimes he is considered as an adult and sometimes he is considered as a child. So this stage, that is adolescence, search by questioning and redefining his own socio-psychological identity. So here the child is questioning himself. He has to now deal with many strong questions like what career he wants to take, what education he should take. He also experiments with various sexual, occupational and educational roles to understand who he is and what he can be. So this is the stage when he has to decide what he can be in the future. They explore different social roles and experiment with various identities. So if they attain a strong sense of self, they build resilience that allows them to go after their dreams. And not establishing an identity during these years can result in insecurity and doubt about what they are. So they should now be able to understand that what they are supposed to do. Otherwise, if they are not able to resolve the crisis which are taking place in this stage, then failure to resolve this crisis may lead to role confusion. He may be unable to make decision about his educational and professional career or about making friends. So now this is the stage when he has to understand himself and know what he wants to do in his life. So the teachers and parents have to play a very constructive role in this adolescent age by helping them to come out of this crisis of identity versus confusion crisis. So we have to help them to know their strengths, we have to help them to know their weaknesses, and we have to help them that what is the right path for them. So they derive comfort from their social circle and they gain a feeling of significance. So at this stage they need support. They need support from their friends, they need support from their parents, and they learn how to come out of this crisis and take the decision. So here he wants to know who am I and what I want to do in my life. The next is the period of intimacy versus isolation, that is the early adulthood from 20 to 45 years, and in some places they write 18 to 40 years. So here during this stage the individual tends to develop a sense of intimacy or commitment to a close relationship with another person. So here the individual needs the close personal attachment. So he merges his identity with that of another person, so that another person becomes very important for him, and he develops a close relationship, and he develops the intimacy. So here he wants that harmonious relationship. So this is the stage where you are looking for a partner, where you fall in love, where you want somebody to come in your life. Here you are ready to sacrifice for your close friends. But the opposite is in isolation. So if you do not develop a sense of intimacy, if you do not get a proper kind of relationship, or you do not have a good experience in your relationship, then you tend to develop a sense of isolation, and now you will pull away from relationships. You will break off all the time. You do not want to again develop a strong relationship, because you have already experienced something negative in your relationship. So alternatives have to be developed for intimate relationships. So here you have to maintain equilibrium from a denial of intimate relationship can be costly for unhappy life. So you have to develop that kind of balance, that if something goes wrong, no problem, you can always have another kind of relationship. So even you need some kind of isolation also. Suppose if you are heartbroken, then you need a certain degree of isolation, so that you come to terms with yourself. So as people mature, they start to contemplate romantic relationship and friendships, and they need to develop the capacity for positive intimacy. And if you achieve success, then you develop a strong and meaningful connections, and the good relationship will develop the intimacy in you. And if you fail to develop a good relationship, or there is a failure in your relationship, then you might turn into an isolation. So cultivating a lasting romantic relationship necessitates forming an intimate bond with your partner while also maintaining autonomy. So if you are able to effectively balance these two aspects, then you are strong. So we should not think that if you fail in some kind of relationship, then you cannot fall into relationship. So we should understand that these crises can be resolved by one's adjustment with oneself and your adjustment with your surroundings. So will I be loved or will I be alone? Because you want to be loved by people, and you are always looking for a stable relationship. So you do not want to be in isolation. So this is the stage when you are looking for the intimacy and you do not want to be isolated. And if you have a good experience in your personal relationship, then that will lead to intimacy. The next stage is the period of creativity versus stagnation, which is the middle adulthood, 45 to 65 years, or here it is saying 40 to 65 years. Now, the individual's life up to this stage is taken up with trying to establish himself. So, till now he was trying to establish himself professionally. At this stage now he is established. Now he needs to satisfy his need for generativity, his need for creativity. Now he wants to show his creativity. A concern to establish and guide the next generation. Now he has achieved. Now he realizes that now he can nurture his own children. He can guide and direct the other young people by engaging in some kind of creative, productive and fruitful activity. So now they want to be beneficial to this society. So till now he was caring for himself. Now instead of caring only for himself or for his friends and families who are close to him, now he wants to participate in the welfare of the future generation. कि मैं अब भविष्य के अपने देश के भविष्य के लिए क्या कर सकता हूँ, या आने वाली पीढ़ी के लिए क्या कर सकता हूँ. So this is an extension of oneself. Now, the opposite of this is stagnation. Now, there can be a tendency on the part of the individual to become egoistic, to become selfish, that मैंने अपनी लाइफ में अचीव कर लिया, अब सब कुछ हो गया, अब मुझे किसी से क्या लेना देना. So this should not be the case. The balanced adjustment between the extremes. Neither you should be a pure generativity कि इतने क्रिएटिव हो गए कि आप दूसरों के लिए सोच रहे हो, अपने बारे में नहीं सोच रहे हो, ये भी पॉसिबल नहीं है. तो एक प्रॉपर आपको जो है बैलेंस लाना है, दैट you are looking after yourself also, and also you are rendering your services to the society for the future generation. So this is the stage when individuals begin to reflect on their life experiences and accomplishments and may experience a desire to give back to the society. So this is the stage when they feel कि मुझे बहुत कुछ मिल गया, मैं सेटल हो गया, अब मैं सोसाइटी को कुछ देना चाहता हूँ. And one way to practice generativity is by teaching and mentoring. So here you have to now mentor the future generation. So here the parents can actively participate in the children's growth and development by becoming their mentor. So how can I contribute to the world? This is the major question the individual asks at this stage. The last stage, that is the old age, is the period of ego integrity versus despair, that is above 65 years. So this stage of psychosocial development is known as later adulthood or old age. So during this stage of psychosocial development, one is confronted with the final crisis of one's lifespan, that is the ego integrity and despair. So this ego integrity refers to the integration or culmination of the successful resolution of all the 7 previous crises in the course of one's life. So here the person will see all the 7 crises of his life from childhood till the adulthood. So if he has successfully resolved all the previous crises, then he gets a sense of fulfillment and satisfaction of one's ego. कि हाँ, मैंने अपनी ज़िंदगी में सब कुछ सही किया, अपने आप को प्रस्तापित कर लिया, अपने सोसाइटी को भी दे दिया. तो जिस तरह से आपने अपने 7 stages को जिया है, if you are satisfied with those 7 stages, then you develop that sense of satisfaction and ego. So here the person is reflecting on all what he has done till now. He is going back and looking how he has spent his life. Now, if the person was not able to successfully resolve the previous crisis in the developmental stages, then he will feel some different. He will be in despair कि मैं अपनी ज़िंदगी में ये नहीं कर पाया, मैं अपनी ज़िंदगी में सोसाइटी को कुछ भी नहीं दे पाया, मैं सिर्फ अपने लिए जिया. So these people can become afraid of death because उनको लगता है मैं तो यूं ही मर जाऊंगा, मैंने ज़िंदगी में कुछ भी नहीं किया. लेकिन जिन लोगों को कोई भी रिग्रेट नहीं है, जिन्होंने अपनी ज़िंदगी के सारे क्राइसिस को अच्छी तरह से जिया है और उनको रिजॉल्व किया है, दे हैव लिव्ड देयर लाइफ fully, then they have no regret in their life and they have that ego integrity. They are happy and now they are ready for living this life. So now despair is also not absolute negative. Okay, sometimes we will say okay, सब कुछ अच्छा किया, एक regret मेरा रह गया, काश मैं वो भी कर पाता. So it should not also be seen as totally negative. So individuals who have effectively gone through the 7 preceding stages of their life experiences, then they feel a sense of integrity and satisfaction. And who have not been successful might feel feelings of hopelessness and regret. So, an elderly man feels satisfied when he has raised moral children and loved his wife as best he could. And an elderly man wishes he got a second chance, reflecting on his mistakes in his marriage and that he wasted his life in drinking and he could not do anything. So here you are asking the question to yourself that did I live a meaningful life? So this is how the Erickson has talked about the 8 crises of one's life. So if you take care of this crisis, or as a teacher, if you are concentrating on all these crises and you see that you are able to develop the trust, autonomy, initiative, industriousness, identity, intimacy, all these characteristics in the child, then you can make the development nice in the child and he will be developed in a positive manner. Now if we see the third, fourth and fifth stage are the stages when it is with you as a teacher. So you can contribute a lot in the stage 3, 4 and 5, that is initiative versus guilt, industry versus inferiority, identity versus role confusion. So these are the stages which are there with you, as in these stages the child will be in the school. Thank you.